Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to fundamentally shift how you view your money. For way too long, we've been taught that personal finance is just, pure math, a rigid science of spreadsheets, calculators, and exact formulas. But what if wealth is actually a psychological tool? What if the numbers sitting in your bank account are literally way less important than the invisible thoughts bouncing around in your head?
Seriously, why do you spend the way you do? Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why budgeting is a total breeze for some folks, but an absolute nightmare for others? Or why you might get that weird, unexpected twinge of guilt when you treat yourself to something nice? Well, today, we're exploring the premise that true wealth starts inside the mind, and the stuff we do with our wallets, those are just symptoms of our psychology.
Here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Uncovering your money scripts. 2. The behavior of wealth. 3. The power of patience. 4. Real wealth is hidden. And finally, 5. Time over money.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Uncovering Your Money Scripts.
All right, let's dive into this. To really get a grip on our finances, we have to look at author Ramit Sethi's concept of invisible scripts. Think back for a second. What is your absolute earliest childhood memory about money? Our very first exposure to money kind of forms our entire foundation. Maybe it was the sheer joy of smashing open a piggy bank for an ice cream treat. Or, on the flip side, maybe it was the anxiety of listening to your parents stress over bills at the kitchen table. These pivotal little moments teach us super early on whether money is a tool for love or a source of terrifying scarcity. Understanding this, that is your light bulb moment. Because these common, limiting beliefs actively hold us back. Take Ramit Sethi's example of a couple, Brandon and Ashley. Brandon liked making minimum payments and wanted to buy a snowmobile just to, reclaim his youth. But Ashley? She was laser-focused on aggressively paying off their debt. When these unconscious scripts clash, they can keep us completely stuck in vicious patterns. They sabotage our growth and, honestly, they just cause endless conflict.
Moving along to Section 2, the behavior of wealth. So, author Morgan Housel argues this genuinely revolutionary premise. Financial success is rarely about how smart you are and almost entirely about how you behave. Managing money is way closer to psychology than it is to physics. I mean, think about it. If your expectations just keep rising right along with your achievements, striving for more becomes entirely pointless. You just end up stuck on a hedonic treadmill. And social comparison is especially dangerous because the ceiling is infinitely high. No matter how much cash you make, someone out there is always making more. Real wealth actually requires us to manage our ego, tune out that endless societal pressure, and accept that we might just have enough.
Next up, Section 3, the power of patience. We translate all that internal psychology into external behavior through delayed gratification. And this brings us to Stanford's incredibly famous 1960s marshmallow experiment. Basically, 4-year-olds were offered a deal. Eat 1 marshmallow right now or wait 15 agonizing minutes totally alone in a room to get 2. The follow-up 40 years later was absolutely stunning. The kids who waited actually had higher SAT scores, lower stress, lower obesity rates, and just generally better life outcomes across the board. Success usually boils down to choosing the pain of discipline over the ease of distraction.
But here is the critical twist. Researchers at the University of Rochester replicated this whole thing, but first, they exposed the kids to either reliable or unreliable experiences, like promising better crayons and either actually delivering them or totally breaking the promise. The kids in the reliable environment, they waited an average of 4 times longer for that marshmallow. That's huge! Our brains can literally be trained to delay gratification when we experience kept promises. Self-control isn't just genetic. It's a muscle you can build by starting small and proving to yourself that waiting is actually worth it.
So the crucial point here is how this trained patience translates directly into wealth through the absolute magic of compound interest. Let's look at Sarah. She delays gratification early, investing $500 a month starting at age 25. She does this for just 10 years, stops completely, and by age 65, she has over $1.14 million. Now compare that to Michael. He starts much later and has to sacrifice vastly more of his income later in life just to desperately try and catch up to her.
If you want proof of the illogical, massive power of time, just look at legendary investor Warren Buffett. So he has a net worth of roughly $84.5 billion, but get this, an incredible $81.5 billion of that came after his 65th birthday. That is the awe-inspiring snowball effect of compounding. It requires a frankly incredible amount of patience and delayed gratification spread over decades.
Which brings us to Section 4. Real wealth is hidden.
Data from the landmark study, The Millionaire Next Door, gives us a massive reality check. Listen to this. Half of all actual millionaires never spend more than $29,000 on a car in their entire lives. Only 23.5% even own a new car, and they are notorious, fierce bargain hunters. In fact, for every single luxury item a millionaire buys, there are 8 non-millionaires who buy it instead.
This starkly contrasts the totally false narrative we see in the media. A lot of people engage in conspicuous consumption, right? Buying expensive things just to signal high status. But honestly, that's a short-term power move that basically guarantees a long-term loss. By over-leveraging yourself to look powerful, you are surrendering your long-term independence. True self-made wealth is actually beautifully dull. It's careful budgeting, extreme frugality, living well below your means, and keeping a taxable income that's just a tiny fraction of your actual net worth.
And hey, how you pass on that wealth matters too. The study introduces a concept called economic outpatient care, or ECO. This refers to those freely given financial handouts from parents to their adult children. While they're totally well-intentioned, these handouts act as golden handcuffs. They create this submission dynamic where the child just remains dependent and ultimately fails to generate their own wealth. True wealth isn't just about giving away money. It is about building autonomy and discipline in the next generation.
Finally, Section 5. Time over money.
So what is the actual endgame of uncovering our scripts, delaying gratification, and hoarding all this hidden wealth? Well, a massive 4,690-person study developed something called the Resource Orientation Measure, or ROM. This academic framework tested a really profound question. In the everyday trade-offs of life, does chasing money or protecting your time lead to a better existence?
The findings are completely undeniable. People who chronically prioritize time over money report significantly greater subjective well-being, which is just the fancy academic term for happiness. They show lower material striving, and they just make better daily decisions. And this held true across all demographics, whether we're talking about college students or a representative sample of working adults. Valuing time is a stable trait that consistently yields much higher life satisfaction.
Let's break down the everyday trade-offs these folks make. Those who value time will literally pay to protect their freedom. They'll gladly choose a more expensive apartment if it guarantees a 10-minute commute over a cheaper place with a 60-minute slog. They will accept a job with a lower starting salary if it just means fewer work hours. They prioritize their free time because they recognize that time is our ultimate non-renewable resource.
Which brings us to the core paradigm shift of this entire explainer. High expenditure sells your freedom away. If you buy the shiny new luxury car, the massive house, the 5-star hotel vacations, look, those things are certainly nice, but they are also chaining you to your job. Now, if you absolutely love your job, maybe that's fine. But if you don't, overspending is quite literally spending your own money to imprison yourself.
Take a hard look at your own life and your own invisible scripts. Are you spending your hard-earned money to buy your freedom back? Or are you simply using it to build a much nicer prison for yourself? Really think about that the next time you're about to make a big purchase. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I truly hope it changes the way you look at the psychology of wealth forever.